employment and sexual politics have meant that he's as much at home on the protest platform as he is on the concert platform.
The message of this carnival, not only to the loonies of the National Front, but to all bigots everywhere, is hands off our people!
He's not above laying his own politics on the line along with his music, and his audiences have come to expect songs which combine both.
Come on, we're all in this together! Consternation in Mayfair, rioting in Notting Hill Gate, fascists marching on the high street, arming up the welfare state!
In the late 70s, Tom made hits and headlines with songs like 2, 4, 6, 8, Motorway, and Glad to be Gay, the latter song allowing him to discuss sexuality, his own included, in a way which was neither secretive nor sensationalist. Now, after a time writing and performing in both West and East Germany, Tom Robinson has returned to England with a new band, a new style of music, and who knows, maybe even a new message. We'll find out in a few moments' time. As today he's interrupting a national tour to talk to Mavis Nicholson. But first, here playing Atmospherics is Tom Robinson.
Leave the bureau in the snow, catch a tram to Uncle Po, early evening ring around the moon. Slipping by the concierge, by the bikes and up the stairs, snap the latch and creep into the room. Throw off your coat, pick up the post, put a coffee on. Lie down on the bed, lay back your head, smoke a cigarette. Listen to the radio. Listen to the radio. In the city late tonight, double feature, black and white, bit of tears and taxi to the globe. Find a bar, avoid a fight, show your papers, be polite, walking home with nowhere else to go. Coffee on. Lie down on the bed, lay back your head, smoke a cigarette, and listen to the radio. Listen to the radio. Atmospherics after dark, noise and voices from the past, across the dial from Moscow to Cologne. Interference in the night, 1,000 miles on either side, stations fading into the unknown. Throw off your coat, butter some toast, we'll put another coffee on. Lie down on the bed, lay back your head, smoke another cigarette, and we'll listen to the radio. We'll listen to the radio.
Thanks for that song. Come and join me. Big little clap there. Tell me, Tom, that song, Atmospherics, different from your others? Quite different, I think, aren't they?
Different from the old one.
Yeah. Mm. And that one is done in collaboration with Peter Gabriel.
That's right, yes. I met Peter at a benefit concert we did Christmas '78. And we wrote together after that.
How easy is it to collaborate? I mean, do you have to actually agree with each other?
I think you have to like each other. That's very important. And I write lyrics more easily than I write music. And both Peter and Elton John, with whom I've also collaborated, write music more quickly than they do lyrics. So I tend to have extra song lyrics and they tend to have extra music, and we put the two together.
What I feel meeting you in this wonderful set, I'm going to give the game away. We're not in a nightclub, are we?
Well, it's the closest thing.
But you asked for it. You asked for it. Why? Well, just to get the sort of feeling right for yourself or for everybody?
Yes, it's the kind of place we're used to playing in with this group, and it makes everyone feel at home.
It's the sort of place, what, a jazz, cellar, club?
Circa 1950 in the Reeperbahn in Hamburg.
Yes, yes, which is where you've been for quite some while now.
Yes, indeed. I've come back to London now, living in Hammersmith.
Now then, tell me, you've been sort of out of the eye for the last, 4 years, really?
Sure.
Yeah? What have you been doing?
Well, I mean, I was playing music for many years before the Tom Robinson Band was successful, and I've simply been playing music for quite a few years since. I was in a group called Sector 27 and did 2 years there, really trying to be just the vocalist of the group rather than Tom Robinson, and it didn't really suit me or them, I don't think, and we fell out eventually, and then I moved to Germany.
Why did you go to Germany? What was the appeal to go there?
I've always liked the Germans anyway, actually. And I wanted to learn the language. I had it A-level at school, but really did never learn to speak it properly. In fact, I couldn't really speak it at all. And I wanted to take time to learn German, but I couldn't take time out of my career and stop playing music. It just simply wasn't on. So I thought if I went and played music in Germany, then I'd learn the language anyway, which I eventually did.
When you mentioned A-level, it gives me a chance to ask you something which is, I expect, touchy, but perhaps I'll ask it.
Yes.
Which is it, you had a breakdown, didn't you, when you did A-levels?
Yeah, well, in fact, I didn't do A-levels as a
didn't do
result,
A-levels.
yeah.
I know it's a naive question in a way, but it does interest me, because what is a nervous breakdown? I mean, can you describe the nervous breakdown you had?
Yes, I mean, I couldn't define what it is, but I could say how it felt, which was just like one morning you wake up and you can't do anything. You're just like crying all the time, and you can't. Just the simplest things like putting your socks on or getting to the bathroom and back and cleaning your teeth suddenly become massive obstacle courses, and you think who you might meet on the stairs and what if there's somebody in there, and you just become kind of helpless and you just cry the whole time. It's very debilitating sort of feeling.
I mean, do you think it happened because you couldn't face it? It can't be just because you couldn't face the exams, although it does very often happen over exams, doesn't it? I mean, was it just simply that you couldn't carry on exams or carry on life?
Yes, you just felt you couldn't carry on, period. I mean, just, as I say, the very simple things with shoes and socks or putting on your trousers were like impossibly hard, and it's very, very hard to cope.
But you also described in that a terror, didn't you? I mean, when you said that you couldn't go out on the stairs and down, I mean, that's a bit like going to see I mean, horror films actually dwell on that sort of thing, it occurs to me.
I can't stand horror films.
You won't go,
no.
No, I'm not too hot, but I do, I mean, if I do go, that's the kind of feeling. Is that the kind of feeling you're describing? It just struck me as you said it, that sort of ominous feeling of daring not to do something.
Yes, and also, like, when you're feeling in that state, facing other people is perhaps the hardest thing to do, because suddenly all their questions become unanswerable, and just saying the simplest things become very, very difficult. I don't know why, but it just goes that way.
Before you had that breakdown, were you a person that avoided other people, or were you quite a gregarious, quite a friendly, quite an open, not a very shy person, or what? How would you describe yourself before?
Well, you know, a bit of a show-off.
Bit of a show-off?
Always have been, but
Yeah.
I think that's something that people who are quite shy often do, adopt that kind of front.
You were at a Quaker school, were you not? When you had that breakdown.
That's right, yes.
And then what happened to you? Where did you go for help or
I was
care?
I was referred to, I suppose you could call it a readjustment centre. It was an old manor house out in Kent. And spent 5 or 6 years there.
Sort of what was happening to you?
It was a therapeutic community. It was, there were about 10 or 11 staff to about 50 people. And it was very, very helpful, actually. Sort of. While I was there, I also continued with music and ran a dance band there, an amateur dance band. And we had about 11 or 12 instruments being played at different proficiencies. And so I got hold of a book called Orchestration by Professor Walter Piston and found out how to score for violin and trombone and things, and then wrote the scores out with the different difficulties for the people who could play better, and the people who could play better got the fast parts.
What you started to learn yourself there? I mean, you
Yes.
hadn't before. Were you musical before you went to that?
Well, I mean, no,
centre?
I had piano lessons with... my dad's a ferocious classical musician, and we all got piano lessons. All the family got piano lessons from the age of 4 to the age of 13. At 13, I couldn't play it any better than when I was 4, so he let me give up. So, I mean, I knew basically how to write music, but I didn't know about scoring for clarinets and trombones and things, as I say.
So, do you think if you'd never gone to that rehabilitation centre, that you wouldn't have become a musician?
I don't really think I could have carried on much at all if I hadn't gone there.
No,
but,
quite. But it was a change of direction, I mean, as well, that you
yes,
found
I mean,
there,
I was in a school group at the Quaker school, but yes, the main musical influence came there. And in fact, I met a guitar player there. He wasn't a guitar player then, he was just like a very frightened 14-year-old. But his name was Danny Custo, and we formed the Tom Robinson Band many years later together, and he's still a very fine guitarist today.
Did you discover anything really very surprising about yourself in that centre? I mean, you were what? You were 18, 17, 18?
When I was 16, yeah.
16. So you left when you were at, what, 20, something like that?
Early 20s.
Did you find out anything extraordinary about yourself there? Surprising, rather.
I think I found out that without the sort of exhibitionism and everything, that you were still all right. You didn't have to put up a front to the world and make something of yourself. You're still quite acceptable. And if you just quietly got on and did the washing up, I think you were still an okay person. And that was...
Sorry, I don't get that. Do you mean that you were an exhibitionist before you went there?
Yes, as I say, I was in a group.
In a group there, yes, right. And that's something that you've gone on doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I hope this doesn't sound rude to you, but you haven't got a marvellous singing voice, have you? Not a marvellous singing voice, not like Mario Lanza.
It's very kind of you to call it a singing voice, really.
Oh, it is.
Other people have called it far worse.
Oh, no, because it's a voice that carries you along with it.
Sure. I figured out when I first took up lead vocals that if it hadn't hurt Bob Dylan, it wouldn't hurt me.
You composed right from the very beginning, did you? You yourself wrote your songs right from the very beginning.
Yes, I was much helped by a quote from Tom Paxton, who said that the secret of writing songs is to be unafraid of rubbish and to actually write even rotten little songs and finish them off and then do the next one, because that's the only way you get to the good ones. And I think that's very true. And you should, anybody that's in any kind of creative thing of writing or painting or something, should just go ahead and finish paintings, finish writings, finish songs. And eventually you do get to the good ones. I mean, the first 3 years of songs I wrote, I couldn't bear to look at nowadays.
No, but surely that's why people give up so, isn't it? I mean, what you've got to do is face up to the worst in yourself. When you write a rubbishy thing, it's agony, isn't it? You don't want anybody to see, and you can't bear to go on, but you did go on.
But you should go on, and I think, like anybody that's watching this should definitely go on and persevere, because you do get to worthwhile stuff, or stuff that you're happy with, if you persevere, if you go on through the years.
Well, let me give you a lovely quote that I read.
Oh, no.
I know. All right, hold on. Music is regressing in ever faster cycles, Tom Robinson discuss. Because Tom Robinson, I'm told, said that. Do you really think that? Music is regressing.
Where did I say that?
In a cutting in a music article, an article in a music magazine, City Limits.
I know, yes. That's a chap rang me up one day and we did a telephone interview, and it appeared almost completely unrecognisable. Certainly said several things that I totally disagreed with in the course of it. It's very annoying doing interviews, certainly with the press, because what you say gets hacked up, and like at least a TV interview, people can see the expression
That's
on your
right,
face
what
as
you're
you're
doing
saying
now, and we're not cutting it too.
it. Yes.
So that you are yourself, right?
Right, but music decreasing, I think that was in reply to a question about the mod revival or rockabilly or something like that. What do you think of the latest trends? So with regard to that, yes, it's sort of coming back again, and we had the psychedelic revival, which was a bit of a non-starter. Having a sort of disco revival as well, and certainly pop music. But I don't think it's overall going around in ever-decreasing circles. I think actually it's very interesting and very exciting, the things that are still coming up.
But you know what surprised me? Your views on synthesizers, which you regard as, with great, you love them. Or at least you look forward to them.
I'm very keen on the synthesizer, yes. I think it's a very, very interesting instrument.
But it's partly, though, it's an instrument that you can use, can you not, if you can't really play.
Yes, but I mean...
So are you being extremely democratic by saying that?
Well, of course, it's the fact that everybody can get access to a cheap synthesizer and make some music that's pleasing to them very quickly. That's very interesting. And also, people who've got musical ideas but don't have the facility to play an instrument very fast or very well can express themselves. And it means that, for me, as a fan, as a consumer, I'm getting these bits of music from people like, well, Depeche Mode is the great example, and Yazoo, the Basildon crowd, and also from people like Ultravox, which perhaps you wouldn't have had years ago.
So you're saying really that it opens up music to people who can't perhaps spend time on learning an instrument and learning music?
Well, there used to be this terrific mystique about music, that you had to be somebody ever so special to be a musician, and that it somehow set you apart, and that other people were just cast as audience or consumers, and that they didn't get to make any music themselves. And I think musicians have always played that up a little bit. And I think the synthesizer has debunked that quite a lot, which is no bad thing. In the same way that maybe 50 years ago, the invention of cinema debunked a lot of the acting myths. It meant that people like Marlon Brando, with almost no conventional acting talent whatsoever, could become superstars and make terrific films, because you could go for several takes and you could cut it all together and get a good finished result. And that doesn't put down Marlon Brando's early films, or indeed his late ones. It just means that it's another way of getting at some entertaining medium.
Do you think you have dropped being a campaigner? Because that's what you were in the 70s, correct?
Yes.
You were political with a small p, were you not?
I think I was political with a big P.
Well, a big P, but what I mean is not a
now.
party political person, but you were a political person. You were a campaigner. And you're not a campaigner anymore?
No, but I'm a political person with a capital P now. I mean, I'm a supporter of the Musicians for Labour victory. And I do think that's terribly important at the moment.
Why do you feel that you're not a campaigner anymore?
I think the emphasis went too far on that, and the music suffered, because I wouldn't go and see an opera singer who happened to have the same views as me for 2 hours, just because the message in the opera or the libretto or whatever was pleasing to my views. Because I hate opera. The only reason I would go and see a performance is if I liked their music, and their views would be incidental to that. And actually, I quite like the music from people whose views I quite totally disagree with.
But you don't think it's growing older, do you? That you're losing your campaign
certainly. I mean, I was 20.
Instincts.
Yes, I was 26 when that footage was shown earlier on. I'm 33 now, and obviously do change. You know what I really hate? I hate the people that say, "Oh, success hasn't changed us at all. We still live in the same little house and we have the same beliefs and the same attitudes. And yes, I know we've got £1 million in the bank, but we haven't changed." Of course, being on TV, of course, flying for the first time and getting recognised and asked for autographs. First of all, you get this monstrous ego inflation, and you get really big-headed, and then it slowly changes the way you look at things. Yes, I mean, I have changed, and I think it's very dishonest when people try and pretend that it doesn't.
Did success hurt you? Because you were very successful then.
I was flavour of the month, Mavis. That's the thing. That was the thing that hurt, Because
What,
when
that you
of course-
suddenly dropped when you weren't the player?
Well, of course, yes. I mean, if you're this week's in thing, then you become last week's in thing, and then you become last year's in thing, and then you come the year before last year's in thing. The Tom Robinson Band was a good group, but it wasn't the next Police or anything. But when we had headlines like, you know, the most important new band in Britain and Rock Voice of '78 for me and things, it meant that so much pressure was put on us to perform and come up with incredible things. People were coming to the concerts in the end and saying, they're not that good, rather than, oh, that's rather good.
Were you ever forced into writing Glad to Be Gay because of that idea of sensationalism then? Do you think that kind of wave took you along into that or not? I'd like to answer quickly.
Glad to Be Gay was actually written long before all that craziness broke out. I wrote it as a campaign song for a gay rights march in '76, and it just seemed popular with rock and roll audiences, so I included it. But yes, towards the end of the Tom Robinson Band, we were with EMI, which is a big multinational company, and actually there was quite a lot of pressure to make the sort of records that the Tom Robinson Band was known for, and also from pressure groups as well. When Blair Peach was murdered by the SPG, I got cynics in the music business saying, I bet Tom Robinson writes a song about that, and letters saying, dear comrade, we notice you haven't.
And I bet you there's some gentle pressure coming from a very handsome quarter. Mr. Hyde, I think, is trying to say something to you.
Yeah, I'm terribly sorry to interrupt. I'm not being rude. It's just that we are restricted by the clock. And so apart from one more song from Tom in just a moment, that's all for today. Let me tell you very briefly about tomorrow. We've got more conversation, more controversy. Sadly, for me at least, no more music. We'll be reviewing last month's news with Tony Howard, Peregrine Worsthorne and Anne Robinson. We do leave you, though, with more music from Tom, his forthcoming release, War Baby.
Only the very young and the very beautiful can be so aloof, hanging out with the boys, all swagger and poise. I don't even care what other people are there. I just stare, stare, stare. I see your shadow in the swimming pool. I see your face in the shaving mirror, time and time and time again. I follow your footsteps so quietly up the back stairs, and I hope and I pray you ain't never gonna find me there. Smooth skin and tenderness, long ago on a dark night. Wish I could see you once again, just to remember that it was true. I wanna be still beside you, quiet and still beside you, listen to your breathing, feeling your warmth again. Oh, baby, you were a war baby. This means war baby. I'm scared, so scared. Whatever it is you keep putting me through. I don't think I could stand another 10 years of this fighting. Always stabbing and wounding, only getting my own back. I don't wanna batter you to your feet and knees and elbows when I'm kneeling by the candle at the foot of my own bed. Corresponding disasters every night on the TV. Sickening reality, keep gripping me in its guts. All my friends talk and joke and laugh about Armageddon, but like a nightmare it's still waiting there at the end of each and every day. War baby, war baby. This means war baby. I'm scared, so scared. Whatever it is you keep putting me through. I don't think I could stand another 10 years of this fighting. All this stabbing and wounding, only getting my own back. Later that same evening, we were out in the car talking, and I suddenly wondered who the hell it was we were trying to fool. 'Cause you were the first one I ever wanted, and it's you I come home to at the end of each and every every day.